So, brothers and sisters, today's sermon is called We're a Volatile Cocktail. All right. Brother, and it is um, the third installment in our continued series, Looking for God in All the Wrong Places. We, this week, are looking inside the lyrics of the song Volatile Cocktail. Okay, Volatile Cocktail is the title track from the 1996 CD by the Urban Poet Society, a progressive rock band which had as its members Grammy-winning bass player Phil Peters, keyboard player Douglas Addy, and guitarist and lead vocalist G.D. Fenderson. Uh, yes, that G.D. Fenderson. Yes. Although I know most people don't realize that's all of the hundreds and nearly hundreds of people that have listened to the song aren't aware that G.D. Fenderson and the G.D. Fenderson who won the worst comedy special of all time are the same G.D. Fenderson, because it's a very common name. At the time, now I did get to interview G.D. Fenderson for this. At the time that G.D. Fenderson wrote this, he was having a crisis of faith and love. That's right. His ego or his spirit was being attacked on two fronts, kind of like the Tuskegee Airmen. The only thing holding his life together was his will to not let it fall apart and the fact that he had a career. And that's what he was focusing on. I will bring all this together. GD said in an interview in 1998 that while the lyrics tell one story, the music is the truth behind the story. It's very deep. It's very deep. Now, in this song, actually, you're not going to hear the song, but in the song, if you want to hear the song, you go to G.D. Fenderson's YouTube page, go to his playlist, and there's a thing called Volatile Cocktail, and then you can go there and find that song if you want to listen to it yourself after me telling you about it. The drum in this song, the drums were his will, and the bass line was his career. Those are the two things that are consistent through the song and are very tight and holding it together. The guitar was the woman in the relationship, and the keyboards represented God. And that's why at times the guitar and the keyboards are in sync, and at times they are not in sync. Even when they're playing the same notes, they're not in sync. Hence the conflict. So the song is about God and GD and his woman that he was living with. Okay. The first line, the song opens up obviously with the music introduction, but the first lyric is, if you ask me what I think of you, I'll assume you mean the truth. Wow. Okay, that's powerful, because quite often people ask you a very deep question, but want the most shallow of answers. That's right. They want to hear something specific, even if that specific answer that they want is a lie. So they may say, do you love me? And they want you to say, yes, even if the truth is, and that's a quote from some people. He continues, the author continues, I'm more in love with what you represent than I am with you. Wow, that hurts. Because that's the answer to her question. She says, what do you think? What do you feel? And he goes, you want to know the truth? I'm more in love with what you represent than I am with you. Okay. What he is saying is, it was never about her to begin with, but what I thought I saw in you. And it's the same thing with our relationship with God, because nobody really knows what God is. If you ask 8 billion people what God is, you get 16 billion answers because nobody really knows what God is. So our love of God is based on what we think God is, what God represents to us. If God is a God of love, or a God of vengeance, or a God of mercy, or a God of salvation, or a God of giving a shit, or a God of giving a shit, we just project onto that God. And that's what he is saying. He is saying, I'm more in love with what you represent than I am with you. Damn. Whew, man. And it gets deeper. Get your boots on. Get your boots on. He continues, and I'll tell you what I'm feeling when I know for sure myself. Oh, Lord. I will tell you what I'm feeling when I know for sure myself. How many of you have been in a relationship and the relationship is going along and you just don't know what you're feeling? You don't know. It just keeps going. You're still in a relationship, you're just working it and working it and working it and working it. And you go through step by step by step by step by step by step, but you don't know what you're feeling. You just know that you don't want to stop it because you don't know what you're feeling. You may love this person, you don't know. And if you love them, why stop it? You're trying to figure it out. So it's like, look, I'm learning as I go along. All right. That's what it says. I'm learning as I go along. But as soon as I know, you'll be the second one to know. That's right. Then he continues. Till then, let's melt that bed of snow and let's make that sucker melt. Wow. Let's melt that bed of snow, a cold, temporary, unstable structure. But even as cold and unstable as it is, even still, we can find some warmth, some temporary stability, as it were. Everything else is bad, but the sex is still good enough for now. Now, this is the refrain. He says it 3 times in the song, 3 times. And it is steady as a rocker. Okay, steady as a rocker. All right, that's 2 things there, 2 meanings. Okay, one, first of all, if you have a rocking chair and you try to stand on it, it's not that steady. Okay, so he's saying this is kind of crazy. Don't stand on it, but also steady as a rocker. Like got like a rocker. Like, and they, first of all, when they're a good rocker, they're steady. Especially the bass player, the drummer, a good rocker, they're steady. All right, but you stop the music, and that's when things get crazy, and they get a little unsteady with the drugs and the alcohol and the fans, if they have fans, and groupies if they have the groupies. So that's like deep, 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 deep. Sorry. There's a steady as a rocker, steady as she goes. We're walking through a minefield, better keep on our toes. Whoa. That's right. So it says, we know we're going in someplace that's bad. We know. We know no turning back. So just be careful where you walk. Okay. We're a volatile cocktail. We could explode at any time. So don't shake us. Don't stir us. Mix us. We'll do just fine. Okay. Things are really unstable. Things are really, really unstable. But let's not make any sudden motions or emotions that can mess things up. Man, we're talking deep shit here. Lord, I didn't even realize. I interviewed him for this, and I didn't realize it was this deep. Man, he continues after the refrain. This is the second verse, the first line after the refrain. Well, I'm emotionally retarded. Yeah, well, really, aren't we all? Here, the author admits that he has not developed emotionally, and as far as he should have, he has not. But he's saying that nobody is quote emotionally stable. Nobody, even the ones that look like they are, they're emotionally retarded. It's like we all are. Don't expect any better from me than anybody else. But of course, we always expect better of someone else than we do, than they can give. Well, not always. Not always. When you're in a relationship, there's two things. It's going to go two ways. That person is going to always hold you to a higher standard, or they're going to say, no matter what you do, you're a fuck up. In this case, it's probably a little bit of both. But the next line says, but we shouldn't let that interfere with answering the call. Wow. So he's saying, yeah, we're emotionally retarded. We're emotionally stunted, but don't let that stop you, okay? Do not let immaturity keep you from trying to move forward. Now, answering the call has a few meanings here. There's the call, as in divinity, when we hear God, we call that the call, okay? And then there's the call of nature, when we are answering to what is deep down inside of us, our true natures. We're answering that call, okay? And then there's also the call is also your passion. Like if you're a musician and you want to, and you're trying not to be a musician. Let's say you were raised at music. Let's say you were raised in a church where they say music is bad or musicians are bad or whatever. And your passion says, but this is what I'm good at. This is what I want to do. You owe it to yourself to answer that call. Be true to yourself. Answer that call. Now, there are one or two exceptions. If your background or your upbringing says, killing's bad, he said, but it's my passion to kill things, like animals or people. Okay. I'm not saying to answer that call, but if you cannot control it, if you really, 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 really have to, like you really feel like you need to kill animals, work at a deli or a farm where you can get to like strangle chickens and slit cows and pigs' throats. And, that way, maybe that'll help you. And if you still intend on killing people, you can, uh, uh, gee, that's a tough one. Going to the army, going to law enforcement, uh, join the Republican Party, with the GOP, join MAGA. Yeah, so if you intend on killing people, those are some options that unfortunately are still legal, and it may help quell your desire your to kill things. Uh, Bear Love, you remind me of the host from Zombie Zoo. Zoobly Zoo. Okay, I don't know what that means. I've never seen Zoobly Zoo. But thank you, Bear Love, for watching. Thank you. Now, the next line the next line says, we've sort of got a good thing if we let the bad thing slide. Wow. We sort of got a good thing if we let the bad thing slide. Now, relationships need to be graded on a curve, okay? Because no relationship is perfect. No matter how perfect they look like from the outside, on the inside, they're dealing with shit. Doesn't matter. I'm sure people have seen this in the celebrity world where you see like the power couple, the perfect couple, and all of a sudden they're getting divorced and you find out like she's shitting his bed because he's a fucking asshole, okay? But nobody knows that on the outside. On the outside, they just see the pictures and the glam and the glitz and the kitsch, that shit. That's what they see. But on the inside, it's not perfect. And they have to keep but they have to keep adjusting, okay? Because none of them are perfect. But if we can deal with, or overlook, or ignore, or compensate for, or tolerate them, who knows how far we can go together? See, things are screwed up. We don't have a good relationship. But if we have good coping mechanisms, that's another one, good coping mechanisms, we maybe can go far. And the next line says, and the last line for this verse is, so hold on tight because we're headed for a dangerous ride. Basically saying, let's do this. I know it's fucked up, but let's go. Let's do this. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but let's just keep going. Okay. GD, in the interview in 1998, had said, everybody has baggage, but if you can fit yours in the overhead, then we can make this trip together. If you got so much baggage that you have to check it in and pay extra. Now, this is back in 98. In 1998, in an interview, people were not paying for extra, baggage. It was just part of the ticket. Now you pay for every single fucking thing. But back then, it was a big deal if you had to check your luggage in and pay extra. That meant serious baggage. So then it continues. Now, we've already read this, the refrain, but the refrain, and here's the thing about the refrain, okay? It repeats twice. Once as the refrain with the refrain music behind it, okay? Which is a little bit slower, a little bit, well, it's not slower. Technically, if you check the beats per second or per minute or per whatever, how many beats, that has not changed. The song has not slowed down, but it feels like it's slowed down for the refrain. Okay, it feels like it's slowed down, and he does this. He does refrain 2 more times, but now the 2 times he's not using the music from the refrain. He's using the music from the verse, and even though they're the exact same words, the tempo is a little bit different, and the syntax is a little bit different, and the emphasis was the emphasize because he does it twice. Well, it's a little bit different. So he changes the music under the same words. Man, that's clever. That was clever. And I asked him in the interview, I said, why did you do that? Okay, well, and okay, well, let me go back to this. Okay, hear the work, and will, the two things that make the whole thing. I don't know which here. I think I have a typo. I meant to come back to this. Hear the work and will. Oh, got it. It says, hear the work and will. And this is work is his career. And the will, his will, that those two things that hold this. Oh, got it. So after he repeats the refrain twice, but with the verse music, he plays the verse one more time without the music and without the bass and without the drums, because that was his career and his will, and that's what was holding everything together. That's what was making everything work. He drops them out, and the only thing left are the guitar and keyboard. And then you hear the conflict, and the conflict is isolated. Okay, that's deep. He takes out the two things holding his life together, and you see why he's going crazy: the guitar and the keyboard, the woman and his God. They're in conflict, and it's driving him crazy. And he lets you hear that craziness at the end of the song. He invites you in to hear that craziness. That whoa, 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 right? Whoa. Now, here's the other thing about this. And this is, I didn't write this down, so I'm going to try to remember this. During the interview, when I asked him why he chose to do what he did, and I was waiting for this deep answer like the rest of the song, and he just said, I don't know. That's right. Sometimes you don't know why you do the things you do, but you look back on it and people go, damn, that was clever. That was interesting, or that was different. Even if you didn't know why you did it, it just turned out to mean something really deep to other people. Wow, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So that is the end of Volatile Cocktail. Brings us to the end. I believe, let me check my schedule. Yep. I believe next week we're looking at Lenny Kravitz's Are You Gonna Go My Way? That's right. Another religious song that you did not know was a religious song, because we're all looking for God in all the wrong places. That's right. So next week, we're going to talk about Lenny Kravitz's song, Are You Going to Go My Way? And we're going to take a deep dive into that and find out why my wife thinks he's so fucking sexy. That's what we're going. That's what I want to know. Okay. That's what I really want to know. Why my wife thinks he's sexy.